All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Admissions 101. My name is Mark Gensler. I'm an admissions counselor here at Simpson College. On the call with us this evening as well is Maddie Cano, who is our Assistant Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Access within our department here at Simpson. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the college search process. We're going to talk about questions that might come up when you're on your college visits, as well as questions that you should be prepared to ask of the admissions professionals, but also questions you should be prepared to answer as well. We will also talk a little bit about some tips and tricks for starting your college search. So when you're starting your college search, you kind of want to cast a wide net when you're starting this. So start thinking about what factors are most important to you. Is it the majors that the college might have? Is it athletics? Is it, maybe theater or speech or something like that? Like, what are most important to you? Then you want to start thinking about what are some of your non-negotiables. So what I mean by that are, what are things that that college has that if that's not offered at that school, you're not going. So you want to identify those things. With that, again, that might be the specific major that's offered. It might be, again, an extracurricular program that's offered. All of that stuff would be lumped in also to your non-negotiables. So you want to start with a decent list of options for schools. And for that, you want to kind of do your own research. And what I always suggest that students do is start with the Peterson's College Search Tool or the College Search Board tool. Both of those are great things to utilize when you're starting this process, because you're going to be able to search for schools by geographic area. You're going to be able to search for schools by name, but you're also going to get to see demographic information, what academic information they have, and what information about their student populations are there as well. All of that is going to help you create your list of schools that you're looking for. So once you have some of those identified by using some of those outside resources, I would suggest that you start setting up some of those campus visits. Those can be either in-person or virtual. Here at Simpson, we offer in-person visits. We're doing group visits, group visit days, I should say. Once you go on these visits, I always advise students to go ahead and kind of keep a journal of everything that you've talked about when you're on these visits. So, make sure you think of what department did you meet with? Who did you meet with? Who was your tour guide? What's your admissions counselor name? How did you feel when you left that visit? What was your overall impression? All of these things are good to have written down when they're most fresh in your mind. So in 6 to 9 months, when you're going back through this process again and looking at your list of schools and trying to make those crucial decisions about where you would like to end up, you have that book to kind of fall back on. So let's talk a little bit about deciding factors and how those might play in. I'm going to use Simpson College as our example for this. So what do I mean by deciding factors? I mean things that are going to make or break your college search. So are majors and minors important to you? The number of majors and minors. At Simpson, we have 80 majors and minors and pre-professional programs. We also have it so that it's fairly easy for our students to do a double major or do like a major and a minor, things of that nature. You also want to look at school size. So at Simpson, we have around 1,200 full-time undergraduate students. We also have a 12-to-1 faculty to student ratio here. So you do have those small class sizes, and you're going to get that one-on-one time with your professors. Your professors here at Simpson are also going to get to know you outside of the classroom as well. They're going to be very much a part of your college experience here. You want to make sure that if location is important to you, do you want to go to a more urban setting? Do you want to be in a rural area? Do you want to be somewhere in between? Those are all things to think about as well when you're looking at the location for these schools. At Simpson, you do get the best of both worlds here because you're going to be in a small town of Indianola, but you're going to be about 20 minutes away, or less than 20 minutes away from Iowa's capital city. You're going to have all the amenities of living next to a large city while still residing in a small community. You're also going to want to look at, is career development something that's important to these, or to your college search process? At Simpson, we have a department that specifically sets students up with those internships, exploreships. They do interview prep. They really help you get ready for that career after you leave Simpson. So you're leaving with more than just your degree. You're leaving with a resume of things that you have done and built over your 4 years here. You may also want to look at if research opportunities are important to you. At Simpson, you can study alongside, you can do research alongside your professors here, starting sometimes within your second semester here. You're also going to want to look at study abroad programs. Do they have them? Some schools don't. At Simpson, we have two. So we have what's called a May term, where you take a class in May twice throughout your time here. It is a 3-week-long class that does meet either abroad or on campus. But it is a really great way for students to kind of get that, study abroad cultural immersion experience without actually having to be gone away from campus for an entire semester. Those trips that are offered do not repeat year after year. So it is important if you see, for example, like your first year, that they are going to, let's say, Italy, it's probably important that you try to get on that trip because it may not roll back around again during your 4 years here. We also offer the traditional semester-long study abroad program as well. One thing you're going to want to look at is financial aid as well. What's offered to you. Here at Simpson, your financial aid is going to primarily be based off of your high school GPA. That is kind of the base metric for how it's structured. So the better you do with your high school GPA, the better your academic the better your financial aid offer is going to be from Simpson. But you also want to look at other things that are offered too, like are there, music and art scholarships? Are there special interest scholarships? Are there other academic awards that might be available to you? All of that is stuff that you want to take into consideration. And then also the overall feeling and fit. So when you went to visit these schools, how did you feel when you left? You're usually going to know within the first 15 minutes of visiting a school if it's someplace you want to be. And it's also important that you look at, or that you get a good handle on that feeling as well, because it's also going to be your home for the next 4 years. So it's good to kind of take that into account when making these decisions as well. So your college search. So for seniors, at this point, it is, March of your senior year. So you should be, applying to those schools that you want to be at. You should also be making sure that we have received your FAFSA, which is your free application for federal student financial aid. Once we get that FAFSA, we can go ahead and we can issue you a financial aid offer. But as a senior, that's part of where you should be, is that part of the process. For my juniors, what you're going to want to be looking at right now is taking your ACT and SAT prep exams, signing up for those ACT and SAT exams, looking at the admission standards for the colleges that you're looking at. So do they require an ACT or an SAT score? Do they have a holistic approach to admissions? Things like that are things you want to start looking at your junior year. By the time your senior year rolls around, so coming into the fall, then you're going to want to start applying to the colleges that you've identified that you want to go to. So at Simpson, our application is going to open in July. So some schools do have, early admission. We have rolling admission here, which means you can apply at any time after that July 1st date. Another thing you're going to want to do is start thinking about filing that FAFSA. For you as juniors, it's going to open up October 1st. So once you select Simpson on that FAFSA application, we can go ahead and we can really start to kind of narrow down what the cost is going to be for attending. As you're kind of moving into the winter of your senior year, you're going to want to look for things like scholarship days from the schools that you're looking at attending. At Simpson, we do have scholarship days in November and January and February. And then that's just, those are days for students who are high achieving academic students to come back and apply for more money by going through an interview process as well as an essay process. Once you have kind of, narrowed it down to like your top three, you're gonna start having those financial aid conversations with your admissions counselor. And then by May 1st, you should more than likely have it kind of narrowed down to where you wanna be. So that's briefly just a timeline of kind of what you should be thinking about doing. But let's kind of back it up here to the actual, college visit process. So let's think about, what questions should you ask an admissions counselor during your visit? So, one thing that I think is really important to ask would be, what are your admission standards? Is there a minimum GPA? Is there a minimum ACT score? All of that stuff. What does your admissions process look like? I would also look at, application start dates, asking, is there a residency requirement to live on campus? Things of that nature. When you go on these visits, you're probably also going to meet with a current student. So some important questions to ask them are, why did you decide to attend this school? They're going to be the best ambassador for you to answer those questions because they are currently a student going through the process. What is it like to be a first-year student here? How is campus security? And what is the town outside the campus like? Those are all great questions to ask the current students. And then questions to ask a professor while you're on your visit. What kind of academic support services are provided here? Is there, some schools require a foreign language requirement. Simpson does not. How many classes does an incoming first-year student take? What does my schedule look like? Those are all great things to ask that professor when you're coming on your visit. Another thing that you would want to be prepared to answer as someone who's going on these visits are questions from your admissions counselor. It is our job to help you through that process. And we ask you these questions so we can help shape the visit and get you the best information that you could possibly, that you could want from that visit. So you be prepared to answer things like, how did you find out about this school? How many other schools are you looking at? What other schools are you looking at? What classes are you taking? What is your GPA and what is your ACT score? Those are two things that are also going to help the admissions counselor out when starting to narrow down some of those financial aid questions that you might have. And then, one thing you also want to look at is if you're taking any college classes in high school, making sure that you ask, are those going to transfer in and what are those going to transfer in at? At Simpson, we have a transfer credit guide where we can sit down with you and go over your courses and tell you where they're going to transfer into Simpson. So a couple of other things here while we're talking about, the application process. Let's talk about, essay tips. So you're probably going to have to do an admissions essay, whether it be for a scholarship or sometimes, you might be asked for one, like a personal statement or something. Those are times where you can humbly brag about yourself and really talk about the things that you have done. So whether that's community involvement, volunteering for your church, whatever you've done, that's the great place to to talk about all of that stuff. Recommendation letters are going to be something that's also very important to you. With your recommendation letters, you're going to want to start to narrow down kind of which professor or which teachers and counselors you would like to use to write those for you. Also take into consideration that there's going to be a ton of other students asking them to do the same thing. So really really giving them a heads up early in advance is great, but also giving them an activities resume with that as well. So they have something to go off of when they're writing your, or a little bit something more to go off of when they're writing your recommendations. And then really brush up on your interview skills. So the public speaking do's and don'ts, all of that stuff. A lot of, or not, some of you might have to do interviews, whether it be for scholarships or the schools you're going to. So just know that interviewing is also a part of this process as well. So now I'm going to transition into kind of admissions here at Simpson and what we're looking for here. So here is a short video just about student life here at Simpson. All right, so that was just kind of a brief snapshot of what it's like to be a student here at Simpson. Again, 100% of our students receive some sort of financial aid. We do have 1,200 full-time undergraduate students. We do have a 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So again, those small class sizes plus that face-to-face time with your advisor is super important. We also have 80 majors and minors in pre-professional programs here. And then 99% of Simpson College graduates were employed or in graduate school within 6 months after graduation. We also have an excellent internship program here, and we really utilize Des Moines as an extended classroom for that. So whether that's for internships or exploreships or informational interviews, things like that, we really do utilize Des Moines for that. So just a few next steps that you should do. Set up an individual virtual or in-person visit with your admissions counselor. At Simpson, if you do come on a visit, you can meet with your admissions counselor, a faculty member, a coach or a conductor, and a current student to really kind of get the full measured experience of what it's like to be a student here at Simpson. As you're moving through the spring, summer, into the fall, start to reach out to your favorite teachers or coaches to get those letters of recommendation started, and then apply to Simpson when the application opens in July. Again, for juniors, one thing I'd like to point out is that we do have Junior Visit Day coming up here in April. We have 2 of them, so if that is something you'd like to do and be a part of that group visit day, you know, all of that information is there on our website, or you can email your admissions counselor as well. Please connect with us on social media. Here are all of our handles, as well as our #OneSimpson. And then here is our contact information should you have any questions. All right, well, thank you for your time, and please reach out if there is anything that we can help you with. Good luck with your search, and we hope to see you here on campus.